Kristen Manners, and this is another edition of Targeted. And I want to welcome also my co-host V to the show. And today we have a very wonderful guest on. His name is Matthew Curie. He's been a targeted individual for quite a long time. And first, I want to thank Matthew today for his patience. We have had quite a few technical problems today, and he has been extremely patient. Thank you, Matthew, so much. Yeah, and I have to commend you, Matthew, because I read your information that you sent me, and you have quite an extraordinary attitude when it comes to targeting. I share a lot of the similar viewpoints that you do as far as your attitude towards targeting. But if you would please tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I mean, it's to be expected, you know. I mean, the people who do this to us, I mean, they do it from behind computer screens, and they, you know, they know their zeros and ones way better than I do, that's for sure. But I'll tell you one thing, you know, I try not to let it get me down. I mean, it started pretty intensely with I guess I had a neighbor who didn't like that I played video games too loud, and so she hires a guy, and I hear a conversation at like 1 in the morning that sounded like my neighbor talking to some dude, and basically what they were talking about was, oh, we'll take care of him. Don't worry, don't worry about that guy anymore. Basically that kind of stuff, and I was like, surely they're not talking about me, and I'm able to hear this conversation through the wall. But within about a week or so of that, it got to the point where I was hearing nonstop, 24/7 threats to kill me and my girlfriend, to make it look like a murder-suicide. And I was convinced at that point that, you know, I had somebody after me, that there was somebody like that really, really wanted to hurt me, and those that I cared about. So I tell my parents, and of course my girlfriend can't hear a thing, because every time I try to get her to listen, they would stop. They wouldn't say anything. And so I'm like, golly, this is kind of frustrating. I thought about going and knocking on the door, but I was like, I don't want any confrontation, and what if I am just hearing things, you know? I mean, who knows? So I tell my parents, and as a matter of fact, I have an aunt who is schizophrenic. And so when I told my mom I was hearing voices that my girlfriend doesn't hear, she immediately snapped to, oh, it's schizophrenia, let's get you to a doctor. And so, you know, I agreed willingly after, you know, 2 weeks of pretty intense harassment, led to my mom arranging a doctor's appointment, which I willingly went to, and began medications, and you know, just tried the medical route. And over the course of the last 4 years, almost 4 years, it'll be 4 years in November, I've tried 25 different medications. And of course, nothing has worked, because when it's electronically induced schizophrenia, it does not respond to medication. So, you know, of course, I didn't know any of this at the time. I thought I was just doing what my parents, you know, needed me to do to be better. I thought I was doing what I needed to do to be better. And little did I know that this is actually a form of electronic harassment. You know, it's like, I don't know how exactly they initiated the voice. They told me they put a chip in my head, or they, you know, they act scared when I talk about the fact that I know there's a chip and blah, blah, blah. But it's, I don't think that they're, I know that it can go. But it basically just continued from there. You know, I took medication and was pretty much zonked out, and that's what it did to affect the symptoms that I was experiencing, rather than decrease the volume of the voices at all. I mean, it's pretty wacky though, because the volume of the voices it's only like if you turn the volume of your television up to 2. Like, I mean, like literally 2. That's how quiet these voices are. But they are just as intense as if they were sitting there shouting at you, but you can just turn the volume down to 2. So it's easy enough to drown out the conversation, even if you're having a conversation with somebody, if you're watching TV or something like that. You know, it's easy to distract yourself, you know, and that's really important, because the more that you're paying attention to what they're saying, to what they're trying to get you to think and do, the more information that they're gathering. they're always gathering information. When you're hooked up into, when you're hooked up with remote neural monitoring, like I am, and you're experiencing V2K, like I am, it is just constant data retrieval is what they're doing. And the more information they gather, the more dots that they have, that's how I like refer to it, is the more dots that they have to get you to connect. And so they can take something as simple as like a coincidence where you were talking to your friend and they said the word train, and the second you heard the word train, you heard a train whistle. Like you heard a train like go by outside or something. There's a coincidence like that. But when you take those things and the reinforcement that the voices give you, that the V2K gives you, that totally creates a separate, like a separate memory that's like way stronger than normal memories. It's attached to your targeting. So from that point, anytime you see a train or hear a train whistle or hear the word train, you're going to think, oh, targeting. And they do that with so many different things, as many things as they can. They'll try to, make a coincidence out of anything. And of course, as we all know, coincidence is only significant to the person experiencing it. You try and explain coincidence to somebody else, and sometimes they're like, oh, wow, that is pretty weird. But when it comes to targeting and the way that they do it in just such tiny little inconspicuous ways to anybody but you, it's, it can be pretty frustrating to try to relay any of these coincidences to anybody else.
Well, let me jump in for a minute here. I want, before you get too far into your story, I want to jump back on that point where you started. Yes, when you have voice to skull, remote neural monitoring, synthetic audio telepathy, satellite neural BCI, brain computer interface hookup, whatever you want to call it, there's so many names for it these days.
All of the above.
Yes, medication won't work. Medication will not work. The thing about it, though, when you do go in and say that you're hearing the voices and you start taking the medication, you're labeled instantly. That's going to follow you for the rest of your life.
Absolutely.
And
Scarlet.
yeah. So that's done on purpose. Whether the medication, that's how you can tell. If the medication helps, you're schizophrenic. If the medication doesn't help, you're being harassed by audio frequencies to the brain.
Yep.
Now, I want to also say that your story sounds very similar to mine. Because I was living in California. I'm from Texas. I was living in California, and my neighbors in my apartment, at the time I thought it was my neighbors. Oh, he needs to go back to Texas. He needs to go back and live with his mama. He needs to go and just constant streaming of death threats. There were many times where I slept on my couch just to listen to them all night long. I had, my machete in hand, just nonstop threats. I'm going to come out and come next door. But I tested it. I tested the theory. You said you didn't want to go next door to, have a confrontation. I had a stack of mail that I had been getting in my mailbox that did not belong to me, previous residents and just wrong mail. So I took that stack of mail next door. I said, hey, is any of this mail yours? I've been getting your mail. Talked to the guy, completely different voice. He looked at me as I was like, where you live? You live next door? I didn't think anybody lived next door. So, the wheels started turning a little harder. And it's like, okay, so I was right. There's something more to this, which is why I tested the waters. And once I figured that part out, that was it. I did all the research in the world on schizophrenia, and nothing matched. It's too old to get schizophrenia.
Exactly.
Just all these things. And when you say, the sounds and the whistling and stuff like that, that is the paranoia project. That was to get you paranoid through the sensitivity, sensitizing you. And they let you write your own script at that point. Whatever's going on in your life, They let you write your own script as they interrogate you. What about
Mm-hmm.
this? What's that? Why do you feel that way about, and it's a constant interrogation where they can weave
word
this
association.
they know where to push you from the interrogation that's constantly going on in your head. So yeah. I'm sorry.
Yeah, the interrogations are most intense actually right as I'm drifting off to sleep. Apparently there's a vulnerability in that state of mind.
Absolutely.
Well, I don't know if this is going to make sense to either one of you, but as those particular kind of things have happened to me, like the noises outside, people whistling or all kinds of strange noises that they make around me, in my presence. I've just been kind of a different kind of person. To me, I've always just sat there and went, really? Are you joking me already?
Yeah.
You just got to be out of your freaking mind to be doing this. I've always seen it as I'm kind of a funny, kind of sarcastic person anyway, and I've always just kind of went, it's been Twilight Zone stuff to me. And I've always just kind of ended up sitting there going, you really got to be kidding me.
Yeah.
Who is going to sit there and do all this? And who is going to sit there and buy it all? That's been my position. And these fools, on the psychiatric end of it, they had me, I don't know if you've seen my video, but they had me thrown in a psychiatric hospital. I have an illegal court order on me right now that I'm fighting through the judicial system. They had me transported like 60 miles away from my home, and this is a court order that is being tossed around through about 3 different districts in the Colorado judicial system right now. So
Wow.
They will stop at nothing. This is actually denied me my Second Amendment right to bear arms, and they will literally stop at nothing, which I find extremely ironic, coming from individuals who are obviously so whacked that they have the ability to do this to people and are throwing targeted individuals into mental institutions, which really blows my mind.
Absolutely. Institutionalized 4 times.
These are people that are so mentally unstable that they actually have the ability to perform these completely unstable acts against humanity. But ironically enough, they're throwing individuals into mental institutions, which completely blows my mind. And that's what I try to remind people of all the time. When you think that, they are telling you this or that about yourself, when they're trying to convince you that you are this particular type of person, when they're trying to make you feel guilty or they're trying to make you feel like you're a particular type of person, remember who you are dealing with here.
Oh yeah. Never forget who you are. I mean, for me, that's easy. Yeah. I mean, I know exactly who I am. I know exactly what matters to me, and I know that I'm a good person with a good heart who is completely innocent of all of these horrible things that they're saying that they're going to frame me for. All this, just craziness, and then to see the things happening with my credit report. To see, the fact that, like, when I download an app for Experian, which is one of the credit reporting agencies,
yes,
the login information asks me some security questions, and one of the questions was based off of a mortgage that I had opened on a house back in June of 2017. The problem is, I never opened a mortgage on a house in 2017. So I was already told by the person I talked to when I called Credit Karma noticing these discrepancies. They told me that my social security number and my credit had been compromised. So I needed to put a freeze on everything. I needed to file a police report, and that's exactly what I did. And of course, police were unable to help in any way except to basically just, allow me to document what was happening. So that was good, I guess. But they erased my entire work history off of my credit reports, aside from one job, which they have the title of the restaurant misspelled. And there's just some very the very ominous tones to what's going on with my credit report, because I mean one of the more up and coming scams nowadays are the life insurance scams where hackers, where hackers, I mean, pretty sure most of us know about these by now, but hackers can essentially manipulate a credit report to allow for a huge life insurance policy to be taken out on the person. They hire some dude, some crackhead for $30, to go and whack somebody, and boom, they can make that payout happen, in the same fashion that they hacked it. They'll hack that money. I mean, I really wish I knew more about this kind of stuff.
It's not only that.
I can't remember exactly what V said to me last night. I can't exactly remember his exact words to me, but he said, you know what, I think that you might be I don't remember, what was your term, V, that you said to me? I think you might be you better check into it because of what I have going on with this other issue. And it really made me think, I have really thought that there might be a life insurance policy on me, but the way V put it really made me think,
The thing about it is every TI, is what I'm finding, is having something done to their records. There's always something close, if not identity theft. There's always something being done. Properties being bought. For example, Karen Stewart, an NSA whistleblower, a friend of mine, had that happen to her. She's got a trust fund in her name that's paid out to other people, a few in the NSA, a few people. So it's basically there's a hit put on her, basically.
Wow.
And there are many things. And in your case, the first thing that came to mind is they're going to try to screw you out of getting disability. When you get older or you want to take a mental disability for what you're going through, you're going to be denied. And so it's sort of stuff like that.
Are you talking to me?
Yes.
I've actually I was approved for disability 3 weeks after I applied for it, and that was...
So you're already on
it. I've been on disability for about a year and a half now. I mean, it's just kind of... I don't really understand why I'm on disability, because, I mean, I'm not sick. I could really be working right now, but, like, when I thought I was sick there in the beginning for about the first, 6 to 8 months, those meds knocked me on my booty and got me in kind of a rut. I gained 8 pounds in just a very short period of time. It was miserable. And my parents also, my girlfriend had left me. I was with her for about 3 years, was going to propose, and then this happened, and she decided that it would be best if we separated. So we left, and I went back to my parents' house for the time being. They wanted to keep an eye on me. Then they are the best parents ever. They really, really are. And
that was my next question. Have they stood by you? Are they very supportive of you?
My mom is supportive in every way that she can be, which is every way except the belief that I'm targeted and not mentally ill. My mom thinks that I'm mentally ill. My dad, however, is fully on board with what's going on. Like, he knows that this is something that happens to people. He does think that this is happening to me, and it took about a year and a half or so before he actually started coming around and actually doing the research. He's a smart man. My parents are very intelligent. And,
well, I can tell you how lucky you are.
Yes. I realize how fortunate I am, and I try never to take it for granted, because that's a situation that most every TI, they'd kill for, to have support, to have anybody in their corner, and that's the biggest problem that my handlers have, is the fact that I do have a very, good support system. I've got a family that loves and cares about me, that wants everything to go well for me, and they're still here and alive, and in proximity. We all live here in Tulsa together. Not together. I mean, I live with actually, I have an apartment of my own, but I just actually got a girlfriend a couple months ago, and I've been staying with her for a couple months and trying to bit by bit, kind of get her up to speed with what's going on, and she is on board now as well. I'm pretty sure from what she tells me.
Yeah, that is incredible. That is very fortunate, and I send you every single blessing in the world with that, because that's very hard.
Well, I can tell you, you're very, very lucky with that scenario, because, with me, it's I was actually in a transition, separation when I was targeted, and then the relationship resumed, and I spent months slowly breaking the information to my significant other at the time, and once I finally got it all out to her, she's like, "Why didn't you just tell me that from the beginning?" I was like, "Wow, really?" I wasted all these months trying to act normal, trying to act like I'm not being harassed, and then just slowly, So some people
are very lucky as well, V.
Yeah.
Well, that's why I do this media, because there isn't a person. It's rare that I talk to a person that doesn't believe what I say. So I may just have the talent, the knowledge, maybe the charisma. I don't know what it is, but I'm using it. Whatever it is.
Same here.
Yeah, in reading your information as well, your attitude was just so tremendous about it. Taking on the attitude of just seeking love and acceptance in others, and just seeking love out of the situation versus hatred and not being angry about it. That's really, honestly, you can't help but be angry about this, or with everything that's happened to you. But if you seek after that all the time, it's just going.
It'll consume you.
It's going to consume you. It's going to overwhelm you. It's going to just eat you alive. I just choose not to be that way. If I choose to be that way, I'm nothing more than they are. Really, I'm not.
It really, it brings you down to their level, and there's nothing good about that whatsoever. Golly, it got really intense. Like when I realized that my imagination, like if I imagined like a mountainside, and that like explodes into like a volcanic ash and lava, like all over a village or something like that, my V2K reacts as if they're witnessing it, like firsthand, like, oh my God, is this real? What's going on? That like it confuses them, and that at all, I don't know what is going on other than whatever I think is truly happening. React. Like if I'm sitting here looking at a hand drum across the room from me, and I could visualize with my eyes open, some guy pulled up a chair, sitting down next to the drum, and starting to play the drum like a crazy guy, and my voice will start reacting as if they're seeing a guy sitting there playing the drum. They can't tell if he's really there or if I'm just imagining it. It's super strange.
Well, I can explain that.
Oh, great.
A lot of TIs think that, I'm chipped, and this chip is wired into all my functions. It knows everything that I taste, hear, see, and so forth, which is not true. What they actually pick up through the remote neural monitoring is what the mind's eye sees. In other words, your imagination. I tested this out myself several times. I got to a point where I could sort of entrance myself into a mind state where it's like, okay, I've got a hamburger in front of me, but no, it's lemon meringue pie. It's lemon meringue pie. And then, I go and pick up the cheeseburger, visually see it, And it's like, we don't like it when you enjoy yourself. We don't like it when you eat pie. We was like, how'd you know I was not eating a cheeseburger? And so it's what
Wow.
you can literally play out any scenario in your mind that you want. You close your eyes, and that's what they think they're seeing. You can.
Oh, yeah.
I've gotten intelligence past these people many a times using this method. To
Same here.
What's
Same here, buddy.
Do you want to know what I call it?
It's called
that?
ballax. That's what I use.
I call it double thinking. I have even triple thinking, if that makes sense.
It does. I mean, you got to develop some pretty interesting tactics to not just, survive day to day, mentally, but to, if you do want to start trying to get some information out of them. Like, I don't understand, like, what when I realized that it was artificial intelligence that was powering, primarily powering the majority of what I was hearing, the voice of Stoll, I would simply, think to speak. I would telepathically communicate to them. You guys are not real anymore. You're not alive anymore. You are now spirits, essentially. You're beyond your human bodies. Ha ha. Kind of laugh at them. Take that. And they would lose their stuff. They would their nuggets would explode, and they would just start freaking out. And what they would do is they would start killing themselves, and then it would be a 9-second silence, 9 seconds every time, and then they'd come back, and they sometimes have memories of what had happened, but most of the time they wouldn't. And I think this entire time that someone somewhere was progressing like a code or whatever the algorithms are that allow for this artificial intelligence to do this. He was updating it, and I was smashing them there for a while. It's just like every time they'd reset, and then he's shaking in the backyard. He can't stop crying because he thinks he's dead now. And then he pulls out a gun and kills himself. And then 9 seconds later he's back and can't remember a thing, or maybe kind of remember something weird.
Yeah.
Oh, stress is so. So, I mean, but honestly, I mean, these, it's just tales, really, at this point, just, swapping war stories. But the bottom line is, as far as the best, advice I have to give is just, I guess it is easier to come from me, somebody who does have the support and the positivity, surrounding my life that so many people do not have. But you just can't lose hope in humanity. You cannot let them deprive you of your happiness and your joy and your creativity, because self-actualization is the number one thing that they want to, destroy. Because when you can create something, or when you actually realize something great about yourself, it powers you endlessly. It powers you endlessly. And luckily, I've always been a very positive guy. I've been very, upbeat. I can turn anything into a good situation. And I've been a real handful for these people. For my handlers, I've been a real handful.
Well,
And,
that's good. You keep on keeping on, because positive influences like you are what the TI community needs to keep them going and to keep them upbeat. Really, serious.
You can't help anybody until you help yourself first. And luckily, my head's in the right place. It's just unfortunate that I have other people inside there trying to mess with it.
Yeah.
So.
Well, let me ask you something.
Well,
really quick. What do they want you to do? Because a person doesn't get V2K. They want you to do something. There's always something they want from you. What'd you say?
They want me to kill myself.
Okay. That's the most common.
Yeah, I mean, they want to torture me to death. They want to present me the opportunity to either kill myself, literally have somebody knock on the door with a gun, have it be a friend of mine, a good close friend of mine, present a gun, ask me to kill myself, or they will kidnap me, put me underground in a box. Before they put me in the box underground, they will paralyze me with a baseball bat into the back of the neck. They will blind me. They'll pull out all of my teeth. They will literally put a tube from my butt to my mouth, and they'll force feed me bacon until I'm about to explode, apparently. And the bacon is dipped in some sort of preservative that actually allows you to be left alone without food or water or anything for a long, long time until you just eventually die. But the tube goes from your mouth to butt, and then you just recycle that bacon that they force fed you. Apparently, it sustains you for an immensely long period of time.
So those are the threats that they give you.
Yes, that's the threat. That they want me. They say you either kill yourself or this is going to happen.
Okay.
We're so sorry, Matt. We're so sorry.
So let me ask you. There's always something. There's always, but they don't give you choices. Like with me, it's, well, we want you to do this. We want you to do that. I'd tell them, F off. Well, then kill yourself. Is that not the same formula they give you?
They know that they can, what they want me to do is to listen to them. They want me they just want me to listen to what they have to say. They want to be able to interrupt me. They don't tell me to do things, like they don't ever command me. They'll just they just insult me and belittle me, and but like sometimes they're actually really impressed. They're really impressed with me, and they say some really nice things, and it's tough because I can hear them training other people at times, because you'll hear a voice out of nowhere that's just you're stupid effing whatever, and then they'll say, you can't talk to him like that. You cannot talk to Matt like that.
Well, that's all about the what I call the broken pipe analogy. You've hot water, cold water, back and forth. Just gonna break something. So that's what that's for. So they really want you dead. Because with me, it's we want you to work for the government again. We want you to rejoin the army. They want to use me in some kind of way. And so I tell them, F off. Well, then kill yourself. No.
Yeah. It's ridiculous. One thing they wanted me to do is they wanted me to go to the FBI with all of my evidence. They were like, you need to go to the FBI. Go to the FBI now, you dumb MF-er. Go now.
And you would have been locked up in a mental ward.
What?
And you would have been locked up in a mental ward had you done that.
Absolutely. That's what happened to one of my friends here in Tulsa.
I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I just got a message from our next guest.
Okay, I want this gentleman to finish up, because I don't want you to feel deprived of your opportunity to speak on the show. I want you to continue forward, and if you have more to say. So, we'll just go from there.
Honestly, I could talk as long or as little about this as anybody was willing to listen to. It's just a matter of keeping it simple. Honestly, when you're talking to other TIs, my name's been on the tax list, the buddy list, and I've been getting calls just about every day from TIs, who I'm assuming are legit. I never assume that anybody's, perp or whatever. I don't even like using the word perp, honestly. I just think, we're all humans. Some of us are lost, and some of us were never shown the love that I was shown. That a lot of TI's biggest weakness is that they care too much about people, and it's really unfortunate because that's quite the opponent we have with people that don't care about anybody or anything except money.
Absolutely.
And keeping out of jail, keeping out of prison. So I try to keep it simple whenever I tell people what to do. I'm being gang stalked, and this lady at the store looked at me weird, and it's just I understand that you feel like there are people everywhere out to get you. That's what this program does. It controls minds. It literally can cause somebody to say something about a yellow shirt the second they walk by you, and you could talk to them. Did you just say something about a yellow shirt? No, I don't even know what you're talking about. And they really won't have any idea what you're talking about. But that's the way this program works. It's just little jabs And they do that through the energy that your body exudes, your actual, like, your energy. I mean, your body's aura, so to speak. It can be manipulated, and so can those within the proximity of it. Very strange thing, but that's what creates a lot of the gang stalking phenomena that people experience. And so I try to explain that to people who are very, you know, like dead set on their gang stalking being, you know, I mean, a large group of, you know, organized people all being in the right place at the right time. And I do understand that there are cases where that is truly happening, but the way that this, you know, is truly perpetrated is through technology and the manipulation of a human aura. So it's phenomenally interesting stuff, and I'm just I'm taken aback at how fascinated I am by all of this stuff. But it's downright evil what it's being used for. I'm so upset.
Absolutely.
Okay, well, if you want to take us out, I'm done with all my questions. Thank you.
Great. Thank you so much.
I really appreciate you guys having me. It was it was
Yeah.
good getting to share a little bit about what's going on.
Well, I want to thank you very much, Matthew. On behalf of myself and V, thank you for joining us, and we'll see you again sometime. Thank you again, Matthew, very much.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome.
Okay, so I'm outside Worcestershire Metropolitan Police Station, and I've got my flyer. I've printed out a card showing my tour that I'm doing around the UK, protesting gang stalking and electronic harassment. I've also got my CD, which I produced for the tour, to further demonstrate that art is against torture and domestic terrorism. For anyone who's a victim of gang stalking and electronic harassment, please go on the internet and look at MI5, MI6, GCHQ and JIC, which is the Joint Intelligence Committee, because they are responsible for counter-terrorism in the UK, and they should be doing something about this issue.
Today, we have a very, very important guest with us. Her name is Irma Hamilton, and I received a lot of information from Irma today, extremely disturbing, and she has a story that involves CPS and the police department, corruption in the police department. Just was incredibly overwhelming for me to even look at this information. She's been targeted for a number of years, and some of the stuff that I saw was just so utterly disgusting. I could relate a lot to you, Irma, because my initial situation started in 2015 with the police misconduct issue in Aurora, Colorado, and some of the things that I went through was just utterly despicable. And first of all, I'm so sorry about everything that you've gone through, especially the death of your son. My condolences to you. And can you please let us know what's been going on? And thank you for joining us.
Thank you. It's an opportunity to tell part of my son's story with them being here and speaking for my sons. I just always been a straightforward person, and I worked my butt off, literally worked several little jobs to support my 6 kids, and you know, social skills I didn't have, but it started way back and I didn't think much of it. I shared it with you, but a police officer that came onto the force in Marion County, sheriff deputy, he threatened me, like, to shoot me, and it was just out of the blue. I was just walking in a hurry, and I told him I was just tired, and I turned around and I said, shoot me and then tell me stop. Don't threaten, dude. And I just walked away, and I didn't think anything of it, and I really had no dealings with police officers other than that said. My daughter got involved with a guy, and I think I sent you that, but he was a meth dealer and abuser, and I took off out of state to my mom's and left everything aside, even a house I was buying, anyways, long story short, I took off to Idaho, and my mom, the first night there, she started doing drugs with my daughter, and I had to literally leave everything there, take my 5 sons, and take back off to Oregon. And so I ended up in a shelter, and for a few weeks, and it was hell. I decided to take the first place I could, and it was Sunny Slope Manor Apartment. And things were okay the first year. I mean, I got the nighttime job, I got the daytime job. They garnished my wages, even though the father of my first 5 never had to pay child support, and my youngest son's dad didn't. They garnished my checks. Anyways, working, and something inside me just kind of broke. I don't know what, I could tell you, I just felt like enough. I'm not putting up with any more. And because I was always picked on, I'm a small statured woman. I don't believe in gain. Anyways, I filed a federal HUD investigation because the toilet leaked from upstairs to the apartment, and it saturated somehow the carpet. And my house, you came in, smelled like poo and pee. And so federal HUD investigation, started. And so the apartment manager kept giving me write-ups, for any and every little thing. And it just really intensified. And then she would tell drug dealers there that I turned them in. In fact, I had a couple of them confront me. And in fact, Cliff, he came up at me, he was like 19, and he said, I hear you turned this in. And I was scared out of my mind. But me being me, I said, what the F up if I did, boy? And that's how I was, because I just thought, like, you let it out, you let it go. But I got children's services involved too, which is, people said you did, and I said, yeah, because I was trying to protect myself. That's the only way they turn me in, get at me, is calling children's services. So I got Sherry Yoakum involved. She came out and seen the carpet and said it smells unsanitary. I said, I know that. Here's the federal HUD investigation papers. They're already filed. She did have CPS pay for the carpets to get cleaned. She came back behind my back, because my oldest son I was homeschooling, and said it still smells bad, Irma, but there's nothing else we can do. And I begged them to see if they can give me money to get out of the apartments. They wouldn't. She said that CPS doesn't do preventative measures. And so 9/13/04, I got arrested for the unsanitary conditions of the apartment. There is more to that. If you start asking questions, my body broke down literally. I tried to go back to that day, but my oldest son was flipped out, and I had to, make the story. And here I'm sitting in handcuffs. They videotaped the upstairs.
I'm sorry to interrupt you. I'm sorry, but I have a question. Why couldn't they just replace the carpet?
Children's Services said that they don't do preventative measures. That's what Sherry Yoakum said. Because I asked her if they could help me get out of the apartments because people were attacking us. In fact, one boy beat up 2 of my kids and then threatened to burn down our apartments. He was the grandson of a parole officer that later came and threatened me. And I don't even know why he threatened me, because it was like, I didn't turn them into the police because that one cop, remember I told you about that one cop before?
Yes.
He had came to my crossing guard and said, you better not turn in, and I forget the grandson's name, but Joe Parker is the parole officer, but his grandson, that I better not turn it into the police, and I was scared I didn't. Not that the police would have listened to me anyways. But, and there's another thing too, that I was sexually assaulted 8/22 when I went to the hospital, and the apartment manager let that guy live in my house, or in the apartments, even though I had a restraining order on him. So it was pretty tragic, the conditions, and I still had to go to work, by the way.
Well, I can...
go to work.
I can tell you, this is something people really need to pay attention to about the world that we live in. People don't want to do their jobs. Whistleblowers should be loved. Whistleblowers should be a keystone of our society. But no,
They should.
whistleblowers are attacked, and attacked from every angle that how expansive the corruption is, from department to department, from organization to organization. You know, whoever's involved, it'll hit you from, all angles. Now, people don't want to do their jobs that much. They think they need to just sit back and accept a paycheck. When you call somebody out, hey, this house isn't up to code. You talk to the HUD, this house isn't up to code. Somebody's got to get off their ass and do some work. They're not happy about that. When you call CPS to as a preventative situation, yeah, they're not happy, and that you probably ruined their chance of taking away some of your children, and having to do what they really should be doing is preventative, which of course they don't, and so all these people have to work now, and they hate you for it.
Let me tell you something else about this, Irma, that they didn't tell you. Anytime that you are associated with the Department of Urban Development, they have an emergency department within the Department of Urban Development that if you are in unsanitary living conditions, they have to forward you to this emergency department within the Department of Urban Development, and they have to automatically transport you to either a hotel, or they have to transport you to another complex immediately. There's an actual officer that is assigned within every state that has to accommodate you when you're in unsanitary living conditions. It has absolutely nothing to do with them replacing your carpet or anything else. If you are in unsanitary living conditions, that officer in each and every state, that is what their job is. Their job was to immediately provide you sanitary living conditions regardless of the circumstances, and get you out of those unsanitary living conditions. So they violated the law right then and there by not removing you from your home and placing you in something and your kids in conditions that were sanitary for you. So right then and there, that is where the buck stopped. End of conversation. So there shouldn't have been any more talk at that point as to what needed to happen with you. And you can look that up. If you go to HUD and then you type in emergency housing due to unsanitary living conditions, or to the health department having to come out and deem a home unfit for living, you can look up that officer in each and every state that handles that particular situation, and it will guide you to that officer in each and every state that is supposed to take care of that situation. It's in every single state.
So they didn't offer that to me, and then they didn't offer that to me, and the manager and the property managers, guardian management, I kept writing to them about the constant harassment. I mean, I was written up because there was a basketball on the back porch. But that said, it's the manager. I was told by the assistant manager that she kept adding paperwork in my files and taking paperwork out. And I told her, well, then say something, Jamie. Don't just sit there. It's my kids, because I still had to go to work day and night. And then the manager raised my rent and said, you didn't report your income last year. And so it was things like that. And I'm thinking, oh my God, So I did the unthinkable, and I called Children's Services up after I found out the parole officer was coming to meetings to get us ousted. I actually called up Sherry Yoakum, Children's Services, August 30th, 2004 and said, please take my kids, please. I can't do this anymore to them. You know what she told me? We can't, Irma, we don't do preventative services.
Well, no, the whole rent increase, that's a horse of a different color as well. HUD is only allowed to do a rent increase once every year by only a certain percentage, only via notice, via HUD. So that's just a totally other different ball of wax right there in its own right. So when you sent me that information via email about your son, I could not absolutely believe that your son, a child, got a ticket for not wearing a helmet.
11 years old, and it was the cop said that it was his second time he warned him. It was only his first time, and he was by the library waiting for me.
You know, I've never even heard of that in my life. I cannot even imagine a police officer going up to a child and saying, I'm going to give you a citation for not having a helmet on. Not having a helmet for what? For riding what?
A scooter, a razor scooter.
V, have you ever heard of that?
Yes, and now let me tell you why this is. This is what I categorize myself as something I call harassment laws. You have the everyday, ordinary things that people do, and children don't get tickets for riding a bike, riding a scooter, not wearing a helmet. That law passed when I was a kid, and my dad used to harass me all the time. I'm not paying you tickets. Go put your helmet on, and I was riding my bike without my helmet. Sorry, all the time. Waves to police, you know, hey, whatever. But it's what's called harassment laws. There's a little law for this. There's a little bit of law for that.
Slightly.
If you are someone who's causing trouble for the system, these laws are there in place to cause trouble for you.
Yes.
So, with that said, I being, HUD home, and then, you speak of blowing the whistle on some people, and then turning in drug dealers. Being in the scenario, the drug dealer has already made his little area. He's got his niche. He's got his place where he's at. He knows the police know him. They're in cooperation with each other. And so,
absolutely,
when you're doing the right thing, and the system is not doing the right thing, they're going to hit you with all these little things telling you that you're not doing the right things. It's tit for tat. The system is very petty. I can tell you this firsthand.
Yes.
Very petty. I'm sorry you're going through this.
Absolutely. Another thing that you sent me, Irma, and I want you to tell me about this, and I'm sorry to have to bring this up, but it was just so disgusting. What happened to your son after the horrible event that happened with your son? Your younger son was beat up after one of the most tragic events of your life. I couldn't even believe what I heard, what you sent me.
Hold on, and I haven't even sent you a lot. Michael was picked on, my son that died by suicide. In 9/13, they were separated, except for two of my boys kept together. Anyways, Michael was with two foster moms that I didn't find out until after he died. They were in trouble in Southern Oregon, Bend, Oregon, for molesting girls, and so DHS Oregon just moves so they don't get fired. They just move these caseworkers around, and they're also foster parents. That said, Michael didn't come back the same, and the only reason I got 4 of my kids back was because I met a legislator. And as soon as I met that legislator, I got all 4 back, but they hid my 5th one for me. Jacob, the one thing you were talking about is Jacob was 17 years old. It was like 5 months after Michael died by suicide, his favorite brother. He went to work at the cannery at night. And I actually happened to be out camping with my youngest son. And something told me to come home. I did. And I come home, and you've seen the picture of the black eye.
Yes,
and
I did.
Jacob was just jogging to work. There was a few neighbors that were drinking, grown men, and Jacob was telling me this, and they said, like, you know, they were drunk and obnoxious. Jacob made a comment back, and he didn't think anything of it and just running, and they chased him down and did beat him up. I found out the next day. I called the police. The police said I wasn't allowed to come and talk with Jacob and him. They left, and I called him up and said, what's going on? He's 17 years old, and they said, he doesn't want to press charges, we're not going to. And that was it. I mean, that's always how it's been. I haven't told you about the armed robbery either, being held at gunpoint, and the police don't do anything. They actually arrested my one son who had court the next morning. They arrested him just minutes after they told us Michael died by suicide. And then they were telling us graphically, and I was begging them to please, I was in shock, but I was thinking of my younger kids, and I was saying, please don't say anymore, because they were talking about how the body, describing his body condition, and I was pleading with them, please don't, please, you know, wait till I get my little kids away. And then they arrested Nicholas, put him in handcuffs, and took him to jail, even though he had court the next morning.
And can I ask, did he make his court date? A lot of times they will put you in jail, day before court. You missed that court date. You got extra charges on you for missing that court date. Did he?
No, he actually didn't have a chance to miss it because it was the next morning. We found out about Michael Monday, and he had court Tuesday morning.
And so the thing that really irritates me is, with all the work that it takes to harass somebody, especially through harassment laws, especially you know, ticketing and you know, raising the rent, it's all paperwork too.
Yeah.
Why not just do the paperwork to get the situation right? When you know this person's right, just do the paperwork, do the work. I think it's really a big psychopathic ego thing of someone telling them what to do, and I think they hate it. That's my only conclusion at this point. It's the same amount of work, except for you're screwing somebody.
Control the.
Actually, I think in my case, it was how dare someone like me, a nobody, stand up for the truth and speak out. Because I found that with Marion County Housing when I did speak out, because I actually moved into Marion County Housing, I don't know, 1994, because I was had given birth to my fourth child. Anyways, I moved in there, and I was finishing up my bachelor's degree, and they came in and did an inspection, and I had one room that was just in boxes, and I remember the guy, Scott Berglund, saying, you can't have this in boxes. And I was typing on a typewriter trying to finish up my last month of college, and I said, please, could you just let it go until I'm done with college? And I got written up for it, because it's how dare a nobody tried to be more than what they are.
Yeah, I can't disagree with that at all.
So at this point, are you still in the same apartment, or have you moved? Are you in a different location now?
No, when I got arrested, they gave me a 30-day notice, and I was already involved with what is that for legal aid. And when I got out of jail, I lost my kids. My jobs fired me, and the school district, and also Circle K, they fired me. And so I had no jobs. I got a 30-day notice. I actually had my purse stolen too, but that's another story, because I had to be drugged up after I lost my kids on sleeping pills. But what was it? Is legal aid. I called them up, and the guy just looked at me. I remember him clearly. He said, "Boy, you're screwed." And I was kind of like, "Oh my God, tell me something I didn't know, guy." But it really wasn't. I lost everything. I lost my mind. But I still worked. I got a job and still worked.
So, are all your kids are back with you now?
No, do you have that one paper? They won't give me my oldest son back. Look at that paper with all the medication.
I don't know if I've had a chance to look at that one yet. I know that there were so many. I was trying to get through them, and get everything done. Where is he at right now?
It was admitted, I met this one reporter by a chance accident, Mike Cross, so he's the only one that's tried to help me, and he actually got put in prison, I think, for helping me. But met him, he came into court with me, and he met my oldest son, which was sweet. Nobody's gone to visit my oldest son except for me and the guy that I don't even know. Anyways, he went in, met my son, seen his medication list. He came to court with me twice, and he made them admit that Ben was overdrugged, but also that he was raped and beaten in foster care. So it's on court record, but they didn't do anything, and I think that's why they over-medicated him. But it's been over 14 years, September 13th, that Ben hasn't been returned home. He's in a group home for very, very disabled now, and he's retarded, basically.
Oh, wow.
That medication list, he wasn't even, when I took him to the counselor, psychiatrist before CPS stole my kids, the psychiatrist said no medication. And even have documents I got that after he went to foster care, the psychiatrist said no medication, and they put him on probably about 20 different psychotropic drugs.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Go look at the list. I'm surprised he's still alive.
Irma, I'm gonna request that after the show, you get some information from me. I have another TV show called Family Case Files. I can have you come onto that show as well, and we'll give you advice on how to get your kids back. Okay?
Okay, well, I'm trying to, I'll never get Michael back, and we actually got interviewed for Intervention TV show,
Mm-hmm.
and they really liked his video. I wasn't supposed to tell him, but he was so broken because he was addicted to drugs that I mentioned CPS to Intervention, and then they told me they didn't want us. I can send you a video of Michael.
Okay. Well, I'm going to tell you, I'm not going to turn you down for the show. So we can get this thing going. We want to help you in every way we can.
Yeah, definitely. And I do have to thank you again, Irma, for sharing your story, because I know that it has to be incredibly painful, and I'm so sorry for everything that you've been through. I really am.
You are probably one of the very few recently. I went to my old church with this information, and they just turned me away. The small town, I couldn't even get hired for a gas station job with a bachelor's degree. It's really sad is that the stigma of getting your kids taken and being a Class A felon now, I can't even get a job.
I really am sorry that you have had to go through all this. I really am. And my heart goes out to you, and my prayers as well. And please do get the information to V and see what he can do in trying to help you out. I am very sorry. I really am.
No, you are a God just because you listen to my story, and one of 2 or 3 people in my life the last 14 years that have listened. So thank you.
Well, you're very welcome, ma'am. I really am sorry.
You're going to have a lot of viewers, a lot of listeners for this.
And if you knew Michael, he just was the happiest-go-lucky child before CPS stole him.
Well, again, my condolences to you, and thank you very much for coming on the show and telling your story. I do appreciate it.
You're welcome.
And on behalf of V and I want to thank you for joining us for another edition of Targeted, and please join us again.